Today I'm Manish, physical therapist at SpinoFit Plus, and today I'm here to discuss about total knee arthroplasty. So total knee arthroplasty is a very common procedure used to treat end-stage arthritis earlier in older patients, but now we have seen in the recent decade increase in TKR in younger patients also. This procedure has increased by 95% as compared to earlier in younger patients, and the main goal of this TKR is to relieve pain and improve patients' physical function and quality of life. So the main indications of this surgery, why we need to do this surgery, is first is to relieve pain in weight bearing and motion, and for the end stage osteoarthritis, deformity of knee such as genu varum or valgum, joint stabilities, and failure of non-operative management or the previous surgical procedure. So now coming to the procedure. In procedure we will see different types of TKR. So TKR is classified based on the compartments replaced, implant design, surgical approaches, and implant fixation. So according to the compartments replaced, we have three types: unicompartmental, bicompartmental, and tricompartmental. In unicompartmental, only medial or lateral joint surfaces are replaced. In bicompartmental, entire surface of tibia and fibula, tibia and femoral, entire femoral and tibial surface are replaced. And in tricompartmental, femoral, tibial and patellar surfaces are replaced. Now according to implant design, we have unconstrained, semi-constrained and fully constrained design. In unconstrained, it is mainly in the unicompartment. It is mainly used in the unicompartmental TKR, and it has more mobility but less stability. In semi-constrained, it gives some amount of stability but compromise in the term of mobility. It is the commonly used model for the TKR. And fully constrained, we have significant congruency of component, most inherent stability, but mobility is compromised. Now according to the surgical approaches, we have traditional and minimally invasive approach, and also one more approach is there, quadriceps splitting or quadriceps pairing approach. According to the implant fixation, we have cemented, uncemented and hybrid type. Now we will compare the traditional and the invasive approach. In traditional approach, the incision size ranges from 8 to 12 cm to 13 to 15 cm, whereas in minimally invasive it is reduced to 6 to 9 cm. In traditional approach, we have to dislocate tibiofemoral joint prior to the bone cut, whereas in minimally invasive approach, dislocation is not required. Here, necessary soft tissue release prior to eversion of the patella is required in traditional approach, where in minimally invasive approach, no patellar eversion is required. And also in minimally invasive approach, we do in situ bone cuts and in situ implantation of components. Now, the complications. The early and late postoperative complications in TKR include infection, joint stability, polyethylene wear, and component loosening. And also with the other arthroplasties, we have some complications like DVT and wound healing problems. Other post-operative complications which can compromise patient's functional recovery include limited knee flexion, leading to subluxation and patellar instability or tracking problems, leading to impaired function of the extensor mechanism, mainly the extensor lag we see in some cases of TKR. Now coming to the post-operative management. The post-operative management is divided into three phases. First is maximum protection phase, then moderate protection phase, and minimum protection phase. We will see in each phase the key patient presentation, key examination procedures, the main goals in each phase, and finally the interventions. So in maximum protection phase, the patient presentation will be patient inter-rehabilitation 1 to 2 days post-operative. Post-operative compression dressings will be there, pain controlled, patient will be on pain medications, range of motion of knee will be 10 to 60 degree, weight bearing will be as tolerated in case of cemented and will be delayed in case of uncemented or hybrid type. The examination we will do in this phase is pain assessment, monitor for hem arthrosis, range of motion, patellar mobility, and also soft tissue palpation for swelling, readiness, etc. The main goals of this phase is to control post-operative swelling, control the pain, increase range of motion from 0 to 90 degree. Muscle power should be 3 to 4 by this phase, by the end of this phase, 3 to 4 out of 5. And patients should ambulate with or without assistive device. And also we will establish a home exercise program by the end of this phase. Now the intervention in this phase, to prevent vascular and pulmonary complication, we will go for ankle toe pumps while legs will be elevated, and also deep breathing exercises. Now to control pain and swelling, traditionally we use cold compression and elevation. And to minimize the loss of strength of knee and hip musculature, we will perform various muscle setting or isometrics of quadriceps, hamstring and hip extensor and abductor. While performing the isometrics of quadriceps, we can include neuromuscular electrical stimulation also. Now also, to minimize the loss of strength, we can go for active assisted or active SLR in supine and prone. In supine and prone position, first or day after in surgery, but we will postpone SLR in sideline position. In case of cemented, we will postpone it for 2 to 4 weeks, and in case of uncemented, we will postpone for 4 to 6 weeks to avoid any varus or valgus stress on the knee. Now to regain knee range of motion, there are various exercises like heel slides in supine or sitting position, neuromuscular inhibition techniques like agonist contraction of the quadriceps, gravity assisted knee flexion also we can do by sitting at the edge of the bed. Now to gentle inferior and superior patellar gliding techniques also to prevent restricted mobility. Now the criteria to progress to the moderate phase is minimal swelling and pain, well healed incision with no signs of infection and independent basic ADLs. Now moderate protection phase. In moderate protection phase, we will mainly assess pain, joint effusion. In joint effusion, we can assess by measuring the girth, range of motion, patellar mobility and gait analysis. In this, our main goal will be to reduce swelling, increase the range of motion, knee flexion to 90 to 110 degree, and increase the muscle strength 4 to 5 out of 5 in the muscle strength grading, and to improve the balance and neuromuscular control and functional mobility. And also we will adhere the patient to the home exercise program. In this phase, the main exercises will be to increase the strength and endurance of the knee and hip musculature. We will progress to multiple angle isometrics of knee quadriceps, hamstrings, abductors and external rotators of the hip. Also we can go for low intensity dynamic resistance exercises with the help of weight cuff or resistance band around the ankle. Resisted SLR we can also perform. Now to increase the range of motion, we can go for closed chain exercises like mini squats, partial lunges, wall slides, forward and backwards in steps now, and then progress to lateral step up and step down. And to increase the knee flexion, we can go for stationary cycling with seat lowered, and to increase extension, we can go for stationary cycling, seat at the highest point. Also grade 3 inferior and superior patellar mobilization. To improve standing balance and trunk stability, we can go for proprioceptive and balance training from bilateral to unilateral stance on stable surface, then progress to unstable surface. Functional bridging activities in standing or stooping position. Tandem walking, grapevine walking initially in parallel bar for safety. Now to improve functional mobility, we can do symmetrical heel toe walking, ambulation on variety of surfaces and inclines, kneeling and getting up in standing position, ascending and descending stairs. Functional exercises like backward walking, marching, stepping over small objects we can also perform. Now the criteria to progress to minimal protection phase is full knee extension with no extensor lag, 110 degree knee flexion we should achieve. Quadriceps, hamstring and hip muscle strength should be at least 70% compared to the uninvolved leg, or 4 out of 5 according to the muscle testing grade. Minimal to no pain during exercise and ambulation with or without cane. Now, in the minimum protection phase, we will basically focus on task-specific strengthening exercises, proprioceptive and balance training, and advanced functional training. Patient education is very important in this phase, so that we can teach the patient the detrimental effect of high-impact activities. So, we advise the patient to participate in low-impact activities after TKA to reduce the risk of component wear and mechanical loosening over time and premature need for revision arthroplasty. Finally, some exercise precaution following TKA. Like I said, postpone SLR in sideline position for 4 to 6 weeks after cementless arthroplasty to avoid any varus or valgus deformity. In posterior cruciate sacrificing approach, we will avoid hamstring strengthening in sitting position to reduce the risk of posterior dislocation of the component. And also, we will discuss with the surgeon beforehand before giving any tibiofemoral mobilization.